the superstar violinist lost his priceless Stradivarius hours before the biggest concert of his life. His career was over. The only person who could save him, the homeless woman he'd walked past in the subway station that morning. Welcome to the everyday hero. Before we begin this story of where arrogance and art intersect in the most unexpected of places, tell us in the comments what city you're joining us from. And if you believe that true genius is sometimes hidden in the most humble disguises, be sure to subscribe. Adrian Vogel was the golden child of the music world. At only 24, he filled the world's most prestigious concert halls, received perfect scores from critics, and signed multi-million-dollar endorsement deals. He was technically flawless. He played the notes with the sharpness of a surgeon's scalpel, with the clarity of a mathematician's equation. For him, music wasn't a passion, it was a summit to be conquered. That morning, in the royal suite of the city's most luxurious hotel, he was giving an interview. Soul? He laughed at the journalist's question. Soul is an excuse for those with weak technique. When perfection replaces soul, only then can we speak of art. A few hours later, they had to take the subway to get to the concert hall. The city's traffic was at a standstill. Adrian moved through the crowd, disgusted by the noise and the mediocrity. It was then he saw the old woman sitting in a corner of the station. A worn, scratched violin case lay in her lap, and her fingers danced over the frayed strings. Adrian shot her a disdainful look and whispered to his manager, "Now that is what they call soul, the melancholy of failure." And he walked right past her. Adrian's manager had left the violin case on a chair for just 30 seconds to take a phone call. When he turned back, the case was gone. Security cameras were reviewed, every corner of the hall was searched, but it was no use. The priceless 1715 King's Tier Stradivarius violin had simply vanished. When Adrian heard the news, he first froze, then began to scream with fury. It wasn't just a violin, it was his identity, his power, his future. Without that instrument, he was just a boy who could press the right notes. The concert was less than 2 hours away. It was sold out, and the front of the hall was teeming with media and fans. To cancel was career suicide. As Ilara walked home at the end of her day, she noticed the commotion and panic in front of the concert hall. From the whispers of the crowd, from the tearful phone call of an organizer, she understood what had happened. The Stradivarius. It's gone. Ilara stopped for a moment. An expression appeared on her face that no one had seen in years. It wasn't hesitation, but decision. She slowly cut through the crowd and walked towards the backstage entrance. The security guard tried to stop her. "Ma'am, you can't be here. Go away." Ilara looked into the guard's eyes. Her voice was as soft and fragile as her melancholy melodies in the subway. "I can help," she said. The security guard tried to gently push Ilara away. "Ma'am, please don't make a scene. We're busy." Just then, the backstage door flew open with a bang. Adrian stormed out, his face pale, his eyes blazing with fury. "What is all this noise?" he yelled. His eyes fell on Ilara and the battered violin case in her hand. He recognized the woman from the subway, and a wave of contempt washed over his face. "What are you doing here? Looking for a handout? Now is not the time." Ilara didn't respond to Adrian's insults. Her face, weathered by years of sorrow, remained calm. Without a word, she unlatched her old violin case. The velvet inside, though worn in places, was clean. She lifted the violin as if it were a sacred relic. The instrument looked old and tired. Its varnish was cracked, its color faded. Adrian and his manager stared at her, trying to understand what she was attempting to do. Ilara placed the violin under her chin. She closed her eyes, and with the first touch of the bow to the strings, time stood still. What she played was a short arpeggio of just a few notes. But it wasn't an ordinary arpeggio. It was from the most complex passage of one of the world's most difficult concertos, the very piece Adrian was meant to play that night. The sound erupted from that old piece of wood like a storm. It was rich, deep, filled with pain, but also with hope. It crashed against the walls of the backstage area, against the souls of the people there. In those few seconds, Ilara's violin told a story that Adrian's priceless Stradivarius never could. The arrogance on Adrian's face shattered like glass, replaced by shock, and then by awe. In that sound, there was something he had never achieved, a soul. In that technique, there was a mastery he had worked towards for years, but never truly grasped. "That's impossible," he whispered. Ilara stopped playing and opened her eyes. There was no victory in them, no expectation, only a deep sadness. She held the violin out towards Adrian, as if offering it to a child. As if in a trance, Adrian took a step towards the violin. With trembling hands, he took the instrument. The moment he touched it, he felt the vibration in the wood, the memory of years. This wasn't an instrument. It was a beating heart. "Adrian, what are you doing? You can't go on stage with that piece of junk," his manager protested. But Adrian wasn't listening. Without taking his eyes off Ilara, he whispered, "Thank you." That night, Adrian Vogel gave the most unforgettable performance of his career. When he walked on stage, a murmur went through the audience at the sight of the old violin in his hand. But the moment he played the first note, those whispers were replaced by a reverent silence. For the first time, Adrian played the notes not just with his brain, but with his heart. The violin was teaching him a language he had forgotten, the language of passion. When the concert ended, the hall erupted in applause and tears streamed down Adrian's face. This was not his victory, but his rebirth. After the concert, Adrian rushed backstage. But Ilara wasn't there. She had left as quietly as she had arrived. Adrian searched for her all night. Finally, near dawn, he found her in her usual spot, on the cold tiles of the subway station. He knelt before her. "Please," he said, "tell me who you are." Ilara lifted her eyes from the ground. "I am just someone who loves music," she said. "No," Adrian insisted. "You are a legend." Ilara smiled. For the first time in years, she truly smiled. "That sound is not in the violin, but in the heart of the one who has lived. You found your own voice today, young man. You don't need me or that violin anymore." Adrian never truly found out who that woman was, but the old masters of the music world, when the story of that night spread, remembered an old name in whispers: Ilara Petrova, a child prodigy, destined to be the greatest violinist of her generation 40 years ago. After losing her family in a car accident that also injured her hands, she never appeared on stage again, vanishing as if the earth had swallowed her whole. In the subway, she was playing for the ghosts she was mourning. And that old violin, it was also a legendary Guarneri del Gesù, thought to be lost, a priceless rival to any Stradivarius. Sometimes the greatest art is not performed on the brightest stages, but in the darkest corners. The greatest genius is nurtured not by applause, but by silence. Adrian didn't just give a concert that night. He learned a lesson. He learned that true music is hidden not in the fingers, but in a life fully lived. Thank you for watching The Everyday Hero. If you believe that true talent needs no introduction, subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in the next story.